Hey everybody, it's Josh Ellsworth with Stahls, and I'm excited to be live broadcasting with you today. So whether you're watching on our Facebook page or our Heat Press for Profit Facebook group or the Stahls TV YouTube channel, we have something exciting to share with you today. So it's 4 o'clock Eastern. I'm planning for about, I don't know, between 30 and 60 minutes with you today, probably be somewhere in between there because we have a lot to talk about. And I really want to take you through start to finish on creating a design in heat transfer vinyl, and not just creating a design and showing you how to execute it, but really talking about how you can use heat transfer vinyl and structure it to be able to sell around special occasions and holidays to try to ignite an idea that you can actually take and you can go and execute. So if you have a heat press, if you have a vinyl cutter, even better, you're in the right place because we are going to talk all about heat transfer vinyl and some new tools that are available to you to help you grow your business. So make sure you shout out exactly who you are and where you're watching from. I know we're broadcasting in several places all at once. And if you have questions throughout today's presentation, throughout our live, you can go ahead and chat those in, and I'll make sure I take those live on air because that's what we like to do. And so I'm going to start by sharing my screen with you. And on my screen, you'll see the Stahls website. And that's because we just launched a nice little designer tool for heat transfer vinyl on the Stahls website. And it's more than just a cut file creator. It's really a virtual mockup creator. And that's what we're going to talk about today is how can I take something from concept to make a shirt all the way to being able to create an image or virtual mockup that I can list on my website, on Etsy, maybe on my Instagram feed, my Facebook feed to generate interest, hopefully an order or at least a follow as we go through here. So good to see you, Sharon from Cleveland, Bjorn from Colorado, Sherry from Duluth. Appreciate everybody joining today. So once you're on the Stahls website, you do need to have an account and be logged in. You can see I'm logged into my wife's account here under our little side hustle. And then you'll see this link up in the top. It's called the Vinyl Designer. And we just launched this. And you guys are going to love it. So we'll have a full training on it that'll push out to YouTube on our channel this Saturday. It's like an hour and a half full-blown training, but you're going to get some of the basics today as I open it up. And so you'll see the designer after you click on that link if you scroll down the page. And I like to open the designer into a full window. So I'm just going to go ahead and click that button so we can get a closer look. And then I'll zoom you in here. So this is just a start screen to get you going. You can click anywhere on the start screen if you want to just go to the design panel, or you could have selected one of those icons, and that will drop you straight into the designer, which we've just showed you how to get into. You can see there are a lot of different tools you can create from here. I'd like to say this is better than Corel or Illustrator because it's free. Number one, and it's really designed around the vinyl cutting workflow specifically for apparel decorators. So let's add something to the screen. You can see there's quick icons here. I have all these backgrounds, which we're going to use here shortly, which is the apparel items that we're going to decorate. But I can also create designs, and you can import your own background. So I want to start from a template or a layout. So I'm just going to click the Add command and go down and click on Templates. And then it will generate my templates window in my left-hand panel with a drop-down where I can select the particular category that I want to select templates from. Now, I can also search for any particular template or category as well if I have something in mind, but let's just look at some of the new templates that have been added to the system. And so a template is basically a layout. Typically, everything can be changed about the template, especially where you see the letter C on the end of the template file name. That means it's customizable. For you. Where you see an S, it means it's stock. You can customize some elements, but it's not as easy to work with. So I love the customizable templates. So I'm just going to kind of scroll down through here, and I want to show you, I feel like we're already past Easter practically. And so we're going to create a concept for Mother's Day today to show you how to tap into that particular holiday where a lot of people are buying gifts for mom. And I'm going to go ahead and select this layout to be able to show you some basic concepts and then also some advanced concepts. So once you click the layout, it drops onto your design screen, and then you can see the size of your design down in the bottom left-hand corner. And so I'm just gonna click and drag on the corner to make this bigger so I can work with it today. And then you can customize from there. This is all vector art. So that means when you click on this little icon, this little box up at the top that gives you a wireframe view, you can see where all the cut lines are in the design. Now, again, I picked a customizable design, which means I'll be able to change this text based on who I want to sell to or the purchaser of the garment. So here's the thing. If you are connected online, let's say you are in a Facebook group around a certain community or around a certain interest. If it's around wine and animals, well, then this is a perfect t-shirt design. But it may be around something completely different. And so all of this text is customizable. So maybe it's somebody that's into cats, right? So let's double click on dog. That's all I did there. And my edit panel opens into the side. And so I can quickly mock up and change the text. Let's say I don't like this font, and you know why I don't like this font, guys, is because if you've ever weeded before and you can see this font, there are so many little intricate details that I'm not a fan of, and I'm certainly not going to weed those live on air. So I will go ahead and change this font. And so to change the font, I'm going to go up to my edit button, and you'll see the font is Silhouette Script. And I can just click on that, and I can get to all of the particular fonts in the system. And I can click on different fonts till I find something that I like in my design. They will update live on the screen. This one looks kind of cool. Let me size it down to see if it's going to look good there. Yeah, I think that'll do the job. And it's still, pretty fancy in the design, and I can kind of maneuver it around and position it where I want. Now, so I like, let's just say cat mother, wine lover. I'll stick with that because we showed you how to edit all the designs. I'm going to kind of move this up so I'm getting an overlap here. And here's what I want to show you. There's a really cool feature on this because this will kind of punch through. The way I'm seeing this, if you've ever used heat transfer vinyl, you're probably seeing it the same way. I'm going to do a 2-color design just as I see here. But in this particular case, I want the garment color to show through where this white is. And it may seem like that's what's happening here because I have a white background, but let me just change the background color to the color of the shirt that I'm planning to decorate today, at least something in the ballpark. And you can see, I click down on this palette and just change the color from this selector. You can see that that's actually white, right? So it's going to create a bunch of unnecessary cut lines that I'm going to have to deal with in the weeding process. And so let's go ahead and clean this up if this is my locked in design. Now, I want to make sure I hit on a point before I clean this up and show you how to do this. This designer has multiple pages across the bottom. So it has multi-page documents, which means I can hit the plus icon and I've just added a page 2. And when I click on page 2, nothing's on page 2. And so I would use these pages in a few different ways and really saving all of the aspects, all of the resources around this particular piece of art. And so I'm going to keep this original file because I may merchandise this in a way where I want to get back to it in this particular font and be able to change that out. Let me change my font for my lower one first. I forgot to do that. I'm going to edit that font and see if I can go down and find that that same font. I believe it's this one. Yep. Okay. And then size that up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep kind of a text editable version on this screen. Then I'm going to make a copy of it and go over to page 2, and I'm just hitting Control C as copy, Control V as paste, right? And now I have a design that I can like weld together and make it up. So really this is going to be my actual production cut file that I'm creating on this page. And then I'll have this as my editable file in case somebody says, hey, can you do that design and make it say dog mother or whatever it is. And so on this particular version of the file, now I'm going to show you the technique that I wanted to accomplish. And so number 1 is I'm going to select this script text. Let me go back and show you the process here is when to change the color of this script text, I click on this icon here and I can edit all my colors from there. But what I actually want to do is I want to break apart the colors because really I want to take that white background layer and I want to punch it through the cat text to be able to create this cut file where I have the garment color showing through. And so to break apart colors, it's really easy in here, and I'm just learning it too a little bit. It's a lot like CAD works, but you go to, shape, and I'm going to break it apart by color. And so this break apart only applies to whatever I have selected. So you see I have the word mother selected, and I'm going to break this apart by color. Okay, once I do that, then I'll be able to click on my top foreground color, and I'll be able to move it out of the way so I can work. Okay, so now what I want to do is I'm going to grab this mother text. I'm going to hold the shift key so I can grab the cat text as well. Okay, and then with both of those selected, and I can know they're both selected because it shows me the multicolor chiclet here instead of just the single color, I can go up to trim it, I believe. Let me see, where is it? Sorry, guys. Slice is the word. Okay, so it's under shape, and I'm going to click on slice. What that's going to do is it's going to punch through the background layer. Now, when I move that mother text out of the way, it will be punched through the backing. But before I move it, you can see this mother text is also overlapping this sort of creative line here with the heart in it. I need to make sure I slice through that as well. So I'm going to hold my shift key again and select that without moving it. And I'm going to go back up to my slice effect and slice that through as well. Okay, so now I've sliced through both elements. Let me drag this away and you'll see what happened. You see how it punched through there? And so that creates a better experience when I'm working with this and weeding. Okay, so now I'm going to drag this back in, try to piece together the puzzle here. There it is right there. And you can see it fits perfectly. And so now I'm getting the garment color showing through as I expect. Now, I'm going to walk through that process just one more quick time because I think that slice functionality is one of the coolest functions in the design aspect of the software. It really simplifies what we were doing before in Corel or Illustrator or CADWorks. So let me do it on this lover word and break this apart by color. So again, you select your object. I have my nice contour outline on there. You can edit this contour outline. So if you want it to be thicker or thinner, all you're going to do is go up to effects and you can go to the contour and click on the edit button, and that will allow you to thicken it up or make it thinner. But I really like the way it looks in this design. So I'm just going to break it apart by colors again. Move that away, and let's go ahead and select both pieces here. I'm going to hold the shift command, go up to shaping and slice, and you see it's magic. It did it again. And then I can delete this piece, get this piece off of there as well. And now I have a completely clean design, almost. All right. And when I say almost, let me just zoom into the design here. Now, if I zoom into the design and put you back on wireframe, I want you to see this because there's a little bit more cleanup left in the design. You see how these on a script text, you have some of these intersecting lines. You're not going to want to cut it like that because that could show up in your finished print unless it's like a glitter where it won't show those lines. But it certainly makes it more difficult to weed with accidentally weeding the small piece. So in the wireframe view, I can select this text and I can go up to it. And let's see, where is it? I'm looking for the weld. So it's not allowing me to weld it yet because it's still reading as one piece. So I'll break it apart. Okay, now when I go up to shape, I can weld it together. Okay, watch when I click weld what happens to that mother text. You can see how it all those pieces that we're connecting blend in real nice. So it's one continuous cut line. Same thing with this lover piece. I can break it apart and then I can go back up to shaping and I can weld that together. So it looks like nice one little clean piece here as well. And so it really creates a super nice cut file for me to work with. Now, I don't want to leave anybody behind, so I'm going to glance in now for questions. This is showing you a little bit of technical design in our new Stahls Vinyl Designer. I've created 2 pages where I have a nice ready to cut file, and I also have my original file in case I need to go back and change any of the text. It allows you to save this multi-page document. So here we go. Yes, Patrice, you had it. Weld the script text. We got it. All right, Jeff says, thanks for doing this. I have a huge question, and you may have done a video on it already. How do people like me actually start a business, like for taxes and stuff? Okay, so that's coming from our YouTube viewership. And the best advice I can give you is consult with your accountant. Typically, if you go to your accountant, and make sure you get an accountant if you're looking to start a business, get an accountant for your business, they are going to be able to give you the guidance based on what you want to accomplish and how you want to structure your business. I personally set up my side hustle as an LLC. because I didn't want to have myself personally tied to the business. So it just made sense for what I wanted to set it up as an LLC. But I would recommend you consult with your tax advisor, or you can go to sba.gov and consult. And there's a lot of good reading at the for small businesses at sba.gov that'll walk you through exactly how to set up. I don't want to give tax advice, but I do recommend you set up as a legit business because that's going to get you even wholesale rates on your apparel, and it's just going to make things a lot more legit and easier for you as well. All right, good question. Thanks for asking it, Jeff. All right, so this is the Stahls Vinyl Designer, and this Stahls Vinyl Designer is free on Stahls.com. So far, we've created a cut file that's 2 colors, and I'm going to do some different colors here. But now what I'm going to do is I want to create a mock-up, right? Because it's really cool to create this and cut it and make a shirt. But should I really have to cut and weed and create a whole shirt before I sell anything? And so that's what I want to present to you today, is that virtual mock-ups are one of the most important things that you can do in your business, because it's going to allow you to get out front really quick and be able to have something that you can merchandise and sell in the e-commerce world that we're in. But it's also going to help protect your time, because how long does it take to cut and weed and make a shirt, right? You have the cost of the shirt, the cost of the vinyl, and do we even know if it's going to sell? And so one of my favorite features that we've built into this designer is mock-ups. And so yes, Patrice, mock-ups are what's so important to businesses, especially in this e-commerce world. So let me show you how to do it. Let's start another page, just because I don't want to mess anything up. In case I make a mistake, there's never any harm in starting another page. I can always delete whatever page I don't want. So it's great for trying stuff somebody mentioned earlier. So I have it on the other page. So let's start to bring in a blank garment now, or what I call a background. In this concept, what I'd like to do is I'd like to create an image that I can post on my business Facebook page or my Instagram page to my followers and see if anybody's interested in purchasing this, potentially even on my e-commerce site. And so if you click Add Background, we have a lot of backgrounds already set up for you. Now, you can import whatever you want in and drop it on. So if you have an image of a shirt from, that you want to buy from your supplier, or maybe a photo that you've merchandised it really cool and worked with a local photographer to pair it up with like some lifestyle elements that appeal to this cat mother wine lover. Maybe there's a kitten in it or something like that. I don't know, but use your creativity on background. So in this case, I'm going to just pick a standard background. This could be a standard shirt that's in here. I'm just going to grab this tan shirt to be able to work with. So you see it dropped it behind, okay? And that background is selected. You can see the icons are around that, and the size of my background is 10 by 10. Let me size this up so it's bigger in the context. I'm going to make it like 30 big. All right, now let me zoom out here. I'm going to zoom to my background to get a better look. Okay, so you can see very quickly, very easily, I can get a cute shirt that would be a little bit more appealing than just the design on a background to a particular customer, but we're not done yet. So I have the background selected. I can move that around. One thing I do like to do, even though I have my production file separate, I always like to kind of size this to the size it's going to be. And so I can click down here on the size, and for a full front design on a shirt, I typically like something on a lady shirt about 9 inches wide or so. So it's 9 by 10 proportionally. And now I can kind of grab my background and get it more in scale just by dragging it and getting something that looks realistic as far as the size of the design on the shirt. And you'll have to use your judgment there. Okay. Now let's bring another element to this. The shirt's great. I can snip it and merchandise it on this like blue background or whatever color I wanted to make the artboard. But the stuff I've seen, at least that sells out on Etsy and different e-commerce stores, they have like different backgrounds altogether. So you can take a photo of a brick wall and bring it in, right? Whatever you have a photo of, you can bring it in as an element and you can save it under your login. But here we have some pre-designed wood grain backgrounds that you can bring in. So let's just grab this light wood grain. Let me drop it in. I can always move the order of this. So all I'm going to do is right click on it, guys. And I'm going to click to move it all the way to the back because I don't like it in front of my shirt. That's not the look I'm going for, right? And so it drags or drops behind there. And then I can, make it smaller, make it larger, or again, I can manually type in the exact size that I want it to be and then click off and zoom and move things around. Okay, so let me zoom out a bit. There we go. And so you see I have this nice background. And so what's really cool about this is you're creating I don't know, just great proof, a great mock-up. And so it could just be this. You could bring in your business logo. You could place it here. You can spend some time and drop in a marketing message, you could drop a white rectangle in here or whatever color you wanted and put some marketing message, special for Mother's Day, order by this date, whatever you want to do. But you get the point. You can mock this up. You can make it your own. This is for a web listing or a social media post. It's not really for cutting or anything in the production process. It's for selling. So one of my favorite features, and if you saw the training the other day, you already know, spoiler alert, but I can take any of these background images that I import in or that are already in the system, if they are a raster file, which is like JPEG, bitmap, PNG, the type of stuff you would grab off the internet, and I can change the color. And all I have to do is I select that item, I go up to edit, I click on hue, saturation, light shift. That's what HSL shift stands for. So you see I have the shirt selected. I'm going to click on HSL shift. And now I can start to really have some fun by dragging this around. See, I had a tan shirt and all of a sudden it's a green shirt, it's a blue shirt, and you get the point. So you can really come up with some cool different colorways and be able to merchandise things from one image. And so I'm going to pick this sort of greenish color. You can play around depending on the color of your original image with the saturation and the light. I find that those usually aren't as effective as the hue, but it does depend on your base image. Like if you just move those slightly off center, you're getting major changes. But I'm looking for like this seafoam green color shirt, so it matches the actual shirt I'm going to print for you here today, like a seafoam greenish blue. All right, so we did that, right? But this wood background, it looks nice, but hey, let's change it too while we're here to have just a little bit more style to it. So I'm going to go into HSL shift, and we can make that whatever color we want. So if I'm making a bluish design, let's do a blue background, and let's slide the light a little bit to make it like center my eye a little bit more on the center. You see how the edges are getting darker, right? And we're creating really cool things. And so you can mess around with this as you see fit to create the look that you see fit, but it's a really cool tool to be able to change colors without having to photograph every garment. Okay, last thing I need to do here is show you that you can lock the background. And so sometimes when you're trying to click on your design and change things, you accidentally grab the background. And so there's this little lock icon right here that allows you to lock the background. So now when I click around, I'm not able to select it until I unlock it, okay? So yeah, this one looks pretty cool. So let me drag a box around all of my design, and let's change the colors of my design to be the actual colors I want to use. And so I'll click on that color chiclet. And now notice this, I didn't have to select every single element individually. I was able to drag a box around the whole design. It brings up all of the colors that are in the items that I've selected. Now I can mass change this sort of wine color, right? And I can make it whatever color I want by moving my little slider on the screen or by punching in the hex value if you know that. You can make more drastic changes over here by clicking up and down to get different values. But once you're happy with it, you just kind of stop, right? And now I can select the brownish color, right? And I'm going to do like two-tone. Let me look at what materials I have. I'm going to do a two-tone, do a pink and another pink, and I'm going to kind of vary by texture, right? And so I just want to make it slightly different to show some variety in the design, and be ready to go. Okay, so if you're playing along, what we've done is we've created this really cool virtual mock-up that you just learned how to do. What you can do now is you can export the virtual mock-up as a PNG file or whatever raster file type you want, and you can upload that to your Facebook page, your Instagram feed, whatever, dress it up however you want, and say, hey, we have this sale. And so that's the beautiful thing about heat transfer vinyl is you do not have to make anything until you sell something, okay? And that's really cool. And so while it's tough to show glitter and textures and those sorts of things in a virtual mock-up as we have it sitting right now for basic finishes and basic concepts, you can list it here and you can say upgrade to glitter for $5 or whatever you want to do. And so you export this, and I'll show you how to do that. Basically up under File, there's a little export command. and then you can just select, what file format you want to export it as. Do make sure you save it before you start exporting and maybe lose anything. So let's just save this as my block off Mother's Day 1, so concept 1, and you can add yourself a little bit of notes for whatever year it is or what you're working on, and just save it. Okay? And it saves all the pages, so you have those. So again, I export this as my PNG. Over here, I have my cut file. Doesn't matter what color it is because it's the colors of vinyl I load into the vinyl cutter. But I do want to make sure it's sized appropriately. Again, I'm going to do 9 inches. And now I've created a cut file that's ready to cut. Okay, so this is not CADWorks. This is new. This is from the Stahls.com website. It's called the Stahls Vinyl Designer. It is free. And Bill, we are going to answer questions. I stop and answer questions all the time. So make sure you type in your questions and I come back. I like to present the concepts and then come back and grab the questions all together. So we have several times to stop and answer questions. So this is free. All you need to do is have a Stahls login and you'll be able to move along with it. All right, so to that end, let's stop and answer some questions because I must be missing some in here. This is very Cricut-like, and I mean that as a compliment. Yeah, we designed it to try to be very easy to use. And the other thing I do want to point out is when we go to export our cut file, not only can we export a PDF, we can export a SVG and also a DXF. And so you're able to export your files and more or less create your own SVGs instead of having to buy them from somebody and bring those into your Silhouette or your Cricut software to be able to cut. And yes, Patrice, you can add additional blank items to the mockups, no problem. Thanks for not referring to me if you get audited, Jeff. That's appreciated. And then I think we answered the question, Bill, on the program. CADWorks Live is free as well. And Patrice, yeah, you should be my assistant. You're a step ahead of me on all the questions and the ideas. Thank you. Okay, and this is recorded, guys, so it'll be able to be there, and this is a great idea. We don't have any drinkware mock-ups in, but I'll make sure I share that feedback. Yeah, because you could certainly cut pressure-sensitive vinyl with this, or frankly, guys, it's a file. You could print it. You could sublimate something with it. That's what you're creating here. Okay, cool. Yeah, and this is software online from Stahls.com. So, and one more question before I keep moving, and I'll stop in a little bit later, is this does not integrate to Spirit Sale, but I would like to say is you can export your files and then bring them into Spirit Sale or Etsy or Shopify or wherever you're doing your e-commerce images to be able to sell your products. Maybe it'll integrate into Spirit Sale at some point in the future, just not quite yet. Okay, so we have this. Basically, you cannot send straight to the cutter from here because it is not a cut driver, just to answer that question. And so more or less I create the file and I need to export it or download. Okay, so depending on what file format your cutter accepts, you can click export and make sure that you name it, right? I'm just going to name it, so I'll name it Cat MDay Design. You can select the vector file format that you want to export it in. Basically, it has some different choices, whether or not you want to separate it by color, depending on the file format and how you want to do it. And when you click export, it basically will take a minute, and then it will drop it down into your file menu, and it will allow you to import that into your particular vinyl cutter driver of choice. And again, this is brand new, and so there's a lot of different things that a lot of different formats and a lot of different things that we're working on. We did do a ton of testing on this, and so, but it's not without its little glitches and bugs. So as you guys are working with this, if you notice anything like it's not downloading appropriately, like I just experienced, make sure you note that to us. You can chat us right on Stahls.com, and we'll make sure we get a fix in right away. We just pushed a ton of fixes through. So let me try that again. All I'm going to do is make sure I try to separate it by colors this time because it didn't download. That fixes my issue. Yeah, it did. Okay, so you can see it downloaded down into my bottom toolbar as a zip file. and then you are able to open the file and use it as you see fit. Okay, so I'm going to take a question here. Yeah, and you do have to have a Stahls account, but it doesn't cost anything to open up a Stahls account as well. So if you're hesitant on that, you just go to stahls.com and basically you set up an account. And basically, it's our way of knowing that you have a vinyl cutter, right? And so we can be able to tell you about our heat transfer vinyl and ultimately try to help you as you grow your business and give you access to tools and samples and all of those sorts of things. So that's one of our goals, is to help Stahls customers grow, but it's also to get more Stahls customers. So if you're not using our heat transfer vinyl, no, we give this away so that you can use more of our heat transfer vinyl. That's the point. So we'd ask for your loyalty there. So let me go ahead and bring this over into my CAD work. So just give me a second, guys. I'm navigating through a bunch of windows here. And then after I do this, I'm going to go over to the heat press, which I already have heated up. So I'm just trying to get it over into my cut driver, which is vector cut. Sorry. Okay, so I'm going to pull vector cut. I'm going to share my screen again and pull vector cut over for you guys to see. Here we are. Okay, so this is my cut driver. You can use whatever cut driver you have as long as it accepts the format. On this particular cut driver, which is vector cut, again, it's a free download. You can see, it stacked the colors here, but it is separated by colors, so I can select the particular layer of heat transfer vinyl that I want to be cutting from, and it's the same, just production cut file. Because I am cutting in heat transfer vinyl, I'm going to make sure that I mirror the images, which should mirror both of them for me, and it did. And then I can punch in my particular material width size that I know I'll be cutting from. But I want to make sure that I'm not changing too much sizing by the time I get over into vector cut. Now I'm just going to put you on the screen so you don't have to see my computer move, because I need to move it back here so you can get a better view of the cutter. That's all I'm doing now. Get this shot set up for you. So again, any cut driver, I'm going to be cutting this on the GraphTech cutter. And to be able to do this, to be able to send it to the cutter, all you're going to do is make sure that your cutter is set up with your particular cut driver. And so that's where a lot of the technical challenges are. If you're already vinyl cutting, I know your cutter is probably already set up to just import and send, and that's why we didn't want to get into supporting different cut drivers with this program. However, if you don't have a cut driver or you're relying on vector cut, you can still continue to use that as I'm using it here. And you can see up in the top right, I have my GraphTech vinyl cutter selected. So if I bring you back on screen here, you'll be able to see my setup. So we have the GraphTech cutter right here, and I've loaded it with a roll of heat transfer vinyl. And so this particular heat transfer vinyl that I'm going to use for the first part of the job, for the first part of the file, is called Ultraweed. It's our go-to heat transfer vinyl. It's sort of a good, basic, run-of-the-mill. I say run-of-the-mill, I should say. It's a good, basic heat transfer vinyl that applies at a low temp, feels nice, and is basically going to accomplish everything you want for a standard matte finish that feels nice and that applies to cotton, poly, blends, tri-blends, you name it. That's Ultraweed, comes in a nice selection of colors. So I've set up and done my test cut. I'm going to program my origin so I know where the cutter wants to start cutting. And I'm just going to step back in front of you and find my send a cutter button over here. So let's just make sure this little cut file isn't hanging off of the edge too much. So I just zoomed in for you real quick. And let me select it. Just want to make sure I'm up off of the edge here with my cut box. And then I will click send cut job. And it will start cutting it over here on my vinyl cutter. So the vinyl cutter is working. I have my downforce set to a 9, which isn't a lot of downforce. This material is pretty thin, so it's super easy to cut, but a lot of people where they mess up on ultra weed is they have way too much downforce and then they get the material bunching in the machine. So if you've tried ultra weed before and you're having cutting issues, I would certainly recommend that you operate with very little blade extension and very little downforce, because this material is super duper thin when you're using it. Now compare that to the material I'm going to cut next, and we're going to adjust the blade and everything on the fly, is our soft flock material. And so this is a thicker material with more of a velvety texture to it. And I'm using, 2 different lighter shades of pink, but I thought it would look really cool on this garment that I'm going to print to add a little bit of texture and dimension to the look. I'm only operating on a speed of 8, which is pretty slow because I was cutting some thicker materials like the soft foam on this last time. But you can certainly run ultra weed at a speed of like 20 or 30 centimeters per second without any issues. So let's take a look in for some questions, because that's just cutting. Go over, see if there's any comments coming in, and you'll get to see this weeding up close as well. All right, I'm not seeing anything here. Hopefully, there we go. Is Lover welded? Craig asked. Yes, I did weld in the process. And yeah, the Graphtec cutter is awesome. I'm still using the CE6000. I need to get upgraded here to the CE7000, which is the latest unit. I'm actually 2 generations back using the CE6000, but I really love the Graphtec unit. I like the Roland unit as well. They're both really good professional grade cutters if you're looking to upgrade to a more production grade unit. All right. Yeah, and Jeff, white ultra weed stock, we are working on it hard right now. Supply chain is super tough. Is super tough with any product, but right now with ultra weed, with some of the raw material that we use to actually manufacture it, is a U.S. manufactured product. We are just trying to secure more raw materials to get caught back up, and so we will be caught up. I don't have an exact date, but I will check on that and post it back in the comments. I know we had to move it again, unfortunately. All right, so this is flock. Actually, I don't even need the roll holder because I'm down to my last sheet here. And so I'm just going to load it and adjust the pinch rollers. Slide that off to the side. This is 12-inch wide. I really like the materials we've been doing in 12-inch wide, because to me, that's a perfect t-shirt width. This design was about 9 by 9.7. And so, it fits really nicely across 12-inch wide. And it still allows me to, do adult shirts, like men's shirts, bigger designs as well, that 12-inch width. So I really like that width overall. But we do offer the flock in 20-inch wide rolls as well, because I know everybody likes their particular width. So all I did is I loaded it, and now I'm going to adjust my force. And so when you're cutting flock, it requires quite a bit more force. So I'm going to go into force, and I'm going to bump it up to, let's say, let me try a test cut at 21. So that's equivalent of about 210 grams of downforce. And so I love test cuts. It's a quick, easy way to see if your cutter is programmed right and your blade depth is programmed right. So it just cuts a little square with a triangle inside. And that one looks pretty good, actually. So it should cut the triangle and should be easily removed from the square and left behind on the carrier sheet without scoring the carrier too deep. When I'm cutting thicker materials like flock, I like to score the carrier just a little bit more, just to make sure I'm getting clean cuts and it's cut through. And I do have a good result here. So that force is set, and let me just move my blade to the side of my test cut, punch in my origin, and let me pull up that design and send it over to the cutter. So all I'm going to do is go back to my design here. I'm going to select my other color. Just move it to where it needs to go. And then send that cut job. All right, we'll take a look at while that cuts. See if we have any more questions. What's up, Stan? Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. So we have a lot of folks watching. We appreciate you joining to watch this live, where we are creating out of our new Stahls Vinyl Designer a flock design mixed with ultra weed onto a beach glass colored shirt. And so I had this shirt from Bella Canvas that we're going to press onto, and we're going to be pressing that on our 16x20 auto open heat press. And I'll get you closer to that here in a second once we start going through the weeding process. So while this is cutting, I can grab this other piece and start weeding. I always like to find the corner of the design when I'm weeding. I have this little weeding tool. You can get those from Stahls. It's called an easy weeding tool. And I'm going to grab the corner of the design first before I trim anything away, just to find out where that is. So you see, I try to identify the corner. That gives me an area. That's why I use the weeding boxes, because that's going to help me save waste. Instead of trying to find the cut lines and trimming them with scissors, I'm able to just find that corner, and then I can just kind of trail that corner up like I'm doing here until I find the top side of the design. And then I like to work that across. And it's a little bit tough to see, but I'm basically just tracing the outside edge. And then I like to peel into the letters. So the best example I can give of this, if you're weeding the word evergreen, the direction that the open end of the E's are facing, okay, it makes a huge difference if you weed into those open cavities versus against them. Now, that's if you want speed of weeding. Now, there's been other scenarios where I weed against them on purpose. And the scenario where I weed against them on purpose would be whenever I have super fine detail and I don't want to lift up as easy. Sometimes I'll come back against those cavities. But you can see this product, weeds pretty easily. And then I'm just going to take my little weeding tool and I'm going to pick out the centers. And it won't be long before this design is cleaned up. So usually when I'm picking out the centers, I like to grab multiples at a time. And I just kind of stack them up on the weeder as I go. And every once in a while, I'll clean my weeding tool off. So ultra weed, let's talk a little bit while I'm weeding it, and you can't really see it up close, is what it costs. And so with most heat transfer vinyls, I like to say the cost is about a penny a square inch. And so that penny per square inch includes everything that goes in the garbage. So on a design like this, I have all this material over here. I want to factor that in. If I just calculate this at that 9x9 inch, I'm going to leave a lot of money in the garbage. Now, yes, I am going to save this and hopefully we reclaim it at another point. But what I like to do is let's take that full 15 inches by about 10 inches is what I've done in this design. I'm sorry, it'd be about half of that, about 6 inches, because it's only half of the design, but it's still the 15-inch width. And I'll take 6 by 15. Okay, so that's 90 square inches, or about 90 cents in material. Okay, and so that way it really includes all of my waste, including this edge that I may or may not use at some other time, but I'm certainly going to trim it off and save that piece in my drawer so I can load it back into the cutter to use it another time. Another thing you got to watch when you're trimming designs is your little test cut pieces, or even like a little strand sometimes of material when you try to trim it too close. I have one, you're not going to be able to see it, but this little thing just hung up there. It's a little slice of pink. Watch out for that. Otherwise, you're going to need yourself some vinyl lettering remover to be able to clean it up after it applies to the shirt. Okay, so this piece is ready to go. Let's set that to the side. Set that piece to the side, and let's go ahead and pull my flock off of the vinyl cutter and weed that one. Maybe I can get you a little closer on this one. So again, I'm just going to grab the corner, and then I'm going to peel away the excess. I love this flock. It's our new flock. It's called Soft Flock. Not only is it easy to weed, but it's also layerable, which is a big deal. So if you want to build up multiple layers of dimension, you can do that with this Soft Flock. And again, the 12-inch wide rolls, in my opinion, make a huge difference. So let me clean this up, and then I'm going to come back and close to take some questions, see if there's a question that'll hold me over while I'm waiting. Okay, so question is, what cutter would you recommend for a beginner? Okay, and so it's a good question. I honestly think that most people that are just starting out do really well with the Silhouette or Cricut cutters. And you may think I'm crazy that that's a craft cutter, but I can't tell you how many people I've seen that really have Silhouettes, and they can cut everything that a professional grade cutter can cut. So it's really not a question on can the cutter do it, because the cutter can definitely cut the different materials. It's just how much of it do you want to do, right? The volume is the question. And so I love, the Silhouettes. Actually, I got one tucked away underneath the cabinet here because I love the Graph Tech more because I have it. But if you're just starting out, I think the Silhouette is a great cutter to start with. We don't even sell it, but it's a great way to get started. There's lots of training tutorials out there on it, and you can use it with our material. And what I like about the Silhouette is it's manufactured by the same people that make the Graph Tech. There's a lot of things that translate over once you decide that you need to produce more volume. I would never recommend buying 2 or 3 Silhouettes, although some people do it because they're comfortable. If you start to get into 2 or 3 Silhouettes, that's your volume. It's time to get a professional grade cutter so you can cut down on your waste, feed by the roll, and really become efficient in the business. Okay, so hopefully you guys enjoy that. All right, yeah. So let's go. Let's press some stuff together. All right, so let's turn you over here. Figure out if we can just bring you a little bit closer. And we're going to operate on our Hottronic 16x20 autoclave. So my favorite heat press for the price point, the one I own personally, this is my machine, is this 16x20 autoclam. I have it outfitted just a little bit differently with some of our latest tools out there. It has our tag-along platen on it, which basically allows you to press a shirt tag at the same time as you press a front print in case you want to private label your garments. But I use it all the time anyways because it helps me load my garment faster and make sure I load my garment straight. And so that's an add-on to any Hottronics press that you can get. And basically what I mean here is you see I have mine on the counter caddy, we call it. It's just gives it this cantilever design because it's so important to be able to split your shirt and load it on like this. That really helps you get rid of any seams. You see how quick it is to load it straight even when I'm standing to the side of it? That's the benefit of this platen and the threadability. You can split it, you can load it. The collar that you're usually worried about being up on the heat press and scorching or causing pressure issues, it just falls right down over the edge here where you don't have to worry about that. And so now I know my shirt's on straight, I'm going to do a preheat. Okay. I'm at about 6 pressure, which is another thing I like about this press. It has a digital pressure display, and I'm at 300 degrees. So I'm going to press flock and ultra weed. Really no difference on what order I go in because one of the benefits of this flock, because it's layerable, is you can do that, just tack it down for a few seconds and peel the carrier warm, which is super nice. Typically flocks had to be a cold peel, so I had to press, remove it completely from the press before I peel the carrier. But just because ultra weed is super quick for tacking down, just takes 2 seconds, I'm going to start with that one. So I am going to just step in front of you for a quick sec to line up my design. All right, I do want to see some context of the top side of the design since that's closest to the collar, just to make sure I'm going to be good. Yeah, I love that. Okay, so cool. Let me make sure it fit on there. Yeah, it did. All right, so I have my ultra weed now. I'm just going to tack it down for a couple seconds. Okay, lock the press down on this autoclave. You can override it with just like a little uppercut, and I can peel the backing right away, and the carrier practically falls off, which is great. Now I can grab my flock, okay, and I can position that into place. Again, the benefit of 2 seconds, not only does it speed things up, but it helps you prevent any shrinking. So alignment is a lot easier when you bring your next layer on. Now, there is some parts, and this little details, right, with getting better quality. There are some parts of this flock carrier that are over top of my ultra weed trim. If I were to press that for the full setting right now, which is 10 to 15 seconds, it's going to leave an indent mark, and I'm going to see that, and I hate that. And so I'm going to tack this again. for just, 3 to 5 seconds. So let me just give it a few seconds. Let's pop it up. The flock is more of a warm peel, so I'm just going to give it a couple seconds, and then I can grab the corner. Have you ever seen flock peel like that? It's super quick, right? And that gets my carrier away quick, so I'm not leaving that nasty indent. Now, you are going to want to use a cover sheet. You may have noticed I didn't use one last time, and that's okay, because Ultra Weed can technically be used without one, but it's always the best practice just to get in the habit of using a cover sheet, because there are some materials that would stuck right to the heater if I did that. So it's always best just use it. This is craft paper, kind of leaves that matte finish on the product. I'm pressing them together. Now, when you're doing mixed media like I'm doing here, the main thing you want to accomplish is to make sure that the material at the highest temperature with the longest time gets its full application time and temperature at some point. Okay, so that means, let's just say the flock product took a lot more time. We want to make sure that we at least hit that dwell time at the highest temperature for the product. That's how you decide how to do it. So I think it turned out pretty cool. So let me see if I can bring you as close as I can here. So the flock is dimension. So it has a lot of texture to it. It feels velvety, smooth, and it doesn't feel thick on there either. So I know a lot of people are worried about that, but on a t-shirt, it doesn't feel too thick unless you're putting a big blob design on it. And the Ultra Weed is definitely super thin, but I like being able to pair the different medias to create that. I may experiment a little. I'm not crazy about my color combos, but you guys get the concept that you can merchandise these in print to order. And so just to review what we did, we created a design from a template in our Stahls Vinyl Designer. We placed that design onto a garment in a wood background to create a virtual mock-up. Ideally, we would share that virtual mock-up with the concept out on our social channels or website pages, wherever we get reach to our audience, and we would be able to literally produce as little as one at a time. Now, I'm not recommending that you produce just one at a time. It's great, I know, and if you are desperate for sales, it's awesome. But if you are protective of your time, it's best to say, order this design by X date and receive it by this date. What that will allow you to do is it will allow you to group all of your orders, which is going to be particularly beneficial if you're producing stuff from the same colors, because you're going to be able to reduce waste, ganging stuff up, making the most of your material. It's also going to mean that you can step into your room, work at your vinyl cutter and your heat press once instead of having to press one shirt every day, okay? And then the last thing it's going to do, it's going to drive the type of buyer behavior that you want. It's going to allow you to post reminders as the deadline approaches and market that look across a longer period of time and collect the orders to make sure they're delivered by the key date, whether that's Mother's Day or Father's Day or New Year's or Christmas or Easter, whatever that is. You can come up with a ton of concepts like this. So let me look in and let's take some last questions before we finish out today. Yeah, this heat press is a 16 by 20. Thank you. Oh, my mic is cutting out. That's no good. Hopefully the audio was okay. Hopefully it's okay now. Appreciate everybody that joined us for the first time on the first live. And yeah, Graphtec and Hotronix Autoclam, definitely my recommendation. So I think we're good. I'll make sure I peek in on the questions. If you're not in our Heat Press for Profit Facebook group, it's a great way where you can communicate with other like-minded entrepreneurs. I would encourage you to join there. If you're on Facebook, it's a Heat Press for Profit Facebook group, or make sure you follow us on and subscribe to our Stahls TV YouTube channel. So again, thanks so much for joining this live. Hopefully we're able to help you out, give you a concept that you can make some money on, and ultimately grow your business with Stahls Heat Transfer. We'll see y'all soon.